Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to listen to my presentation as well as the other winners. My name is Maya Thomas. I'm an undergraduate senior studying geology and astronomy at the University of Missouri in Kansas City. I'm very excited to showcase my work here. This presentation is about my study of small, like less than 2-meter diameter lava tube formation and distribution patterns in the 1961 lava flow at Askja volcano in Iceland. So let's dive in. First, I wanted to talk about a little bit about what a lava tube is, how they form, and why we should care. So, lava tubes most readily form in slow-moving pahoehoe lava flows whenever they crust over. So, as we know, the surface of a lava flow cools quicker than its interior. So, a skin will form that will eventually harden into a crust. And once that lava drains, and the crust remains stable, the cavity remains, and a tube is left behind. So it's not that simple, however, unfortunately it never is. So that crust may break and be carried down flow, or it may rupture and cause lava to be in place laterally. And stationary crust formation involves the play between shear stress and yield strength of the crust, which involves many variables. And experiments have quantified the conditions that promote crustal growth, but these are very difficult to verify in the field for obvious reasons. Lava is just a little hot, but these features are fundamental to study because if and when a stationary crust does form, that crust insulates the lava flowing underneath it, and heat preservation promotes more distant transport. So these features are relevant in hazard and risk assessment. So meet my study site. This is Vikrahraun, which is the 1961 lava flow at Askja volcano. It's located just north of the Askja caldera in central Iceland. It is of basaltic composition and was emplaced as 3 eruptive events over a series of 7 weeks with alternating flows of pahoehoe and lava. This awesome video. So as I mentioned, lava tubes most commonly form in pahoehoe flows, so we focused on tube hunting in these regions. We identified 8 small lava tubes, which are these blue points, and at least 5 lava ponds in this flow, which are these pink points. Let's take a look at some interesting spots. So this is the location of the longest lava tube we saw. We traversed this length and measured an intact length of about 111 meters. You'll see its distinct inflated and sinuous morphology with some bifurcations, and I want to highlight this surface crack down the length of the tube. That will be helpful in some remote identification later. Let's jump over here. This is Lava Tube Central. Down here is the cluster of vents that emplaced the lava. So 3 out of the 8 tubes that we identified, I digitally modeled using a low-cost photogrammetry method that I'll introduce later. First, let's take a look at lava tube MT9. So this is the model I created using my photogrammetry technique. It does not rely on the use of a drone or terrestrial LiDAR equipment to execute. You'll see here, this is the most intact lava tube that I saw. It does not have a surface fracture like I said the longest tube does. It only has 1 skylight and that collapsed entrance that we entered. The coolest feature I think it has is this narrow bifurcation extending off of the primary cavity, and you'll see on the roof here these lava drips. I'll highlight that in the next slide. So if you didn't catch it in the video, here's a couple stills. You'll see the lava drips, which is a common feature across all of the tubes we identified, as well as a layered crust, and this is a view down the bifurcation. So a little bit about the photogrammetry method we developed. Again, it does not rely on the use of a drone or terrestrial LiDAR equipment. Instead, we deploy these wooden 7.5 centimeter cubes into the cavity to establish a local coordinate system, which enables us to take measurements directly from the model within the software. And this table down here compares in situ to the digital measurements. And this particular model has an average percent error of less than 11%. And it's this high simply because we weren't able to measure the full width in the field. This is the second lava tube I modeled, MT11. Again, it has the same characteristics as the previous. The lava drips from the roof, a layered crust. What's interesting about this one is that its floor was covered in loose, broken clasts. Again, here the same dimensions were measured as in the previous. It's smaller in all dimensions than MT9. Excluding the length, it has an average percent error of about 5%. And you can scan the QR code over here to explore this model in Sketchfab if you would like. This is the final lava tube that I modeled, MT12. Again, the same characteristics we're familiar with already. And like lava tube MT9, it extends directly off of a lava pond margin. And this model in particular has an average percent error of 6%. And this low error enables us to be confident in detailed remote characterization of these features. So let's transition to some remote ID. As a recap, some of the patterns that we saw in the field, half of the lava tubes that we encountered extend directly off of a lava pond margin. And again, the long lava tube demonstrates a surface fracture down its length. This is the location of that tube, the long tube. I want to again highlight that surface fracture down its length. We're gonna jump over here. Oh, click the wrong button. Oh gosh. Sorry. Okay, I extend this photo. So using that pattern, I know you got a sneak peek, but using that, are you able to trace the tube farther up the flow? This one, it's quite distinct. You'll see its inflated morphology, a sinuous shape, and its surface fracture highlights that. So we can follow that up as well as some bifurcations that extend off of it as well. Now we're gonna jump over here. This is the location of the first lava tube I modeled, MT9. I'm gonna trace its primary cavity and that bifurcation we saw in the model. And this is the margin of the lava pond that it extends off of. So using those patterns, that surface fracture and the tendency for lava tubes to extend off of a pond, can you all identify a candidate tube in this field of view? I propose this to be a candidate tube. You'll see an inflated morphology with that surface crack highlighting that. So we were over here. Now we're gonna jump over here. This is lava tube MT12, which is the third lava tube model I showed you all. And this is the primary cavity and that secondary bifurcation it has. And these are the pond margins that all of these tubes extend off of. So doing the same exercise, this one's a little tougher. Can you all identify potential candidate tubes in this field of view? Ta-da! These are ones I propose. You'll notice that each of these exhibit that inflated morphology, that surface fracture extending off the length of the pond margin. I want to thank you all for listening in on my presentation. Right now, I'm interested in going back in the field and confirming whether or not those candidate tubes are actually hollow cavities. Feel free to scan these QR codes to explore the digital models that I created for yourself in Sketchfab. Thank you all for listening.